it's just top class equipment.
It's all,
and I know
all a bit grown up, isn't it? Having a outer reef and a Marex. You know, what happened to your younger self? Have you left him behind?
No, well, that's when I really started to struggle because I thought 2 boats ain't enough. So look, listen to this. Welcome to episode 10 of Boat Nuts, the podcast about all things boaty. This is Boat Nut number 1, Hugo Andreae, editor of Motorboat and Yachting magazine, and I'm Alex Smith, Boat Nut number 2, deputy editor of that same magazine. So Hugo, where are we today?
We are down at Swanwick Marina, one of Premier's 11 marinas on the south coast, and we are on board a very lovely Azimuth 68 flybridge. Particular fan of this foredeck area. Love the fact we got these little teak bits all around us. And what are we talking about today then?
Well, today, as ever, it's going to be a boat product and an issue. And our boat of the week, actually, I'm a big fan of. Went to Oslo to test it. It's designed by a friend of mine, a Norwegian designer called Espen. It's called the Nordkapp Enduro 830, and that is an exquisite piece of work.
Nice looking bit of kit. Looking forward to that.
Same here. And our product of the day is proof that boating is not just a rich man's sport. We are going to look into our best boating gadgets for 50 quid or less.
Yeah, I got a few of those. Very keen on them.
Yep, same here. And then just to prove the lie, we're going to increase the budget again and prove that actually it's a rich man's sport after all. We're going to look at our ideal fantasy fleet. 2 boats we would ideally love to own.
Just 2?
Yeah, maybe 3, maybe 4. We'll have to see.
We'll have a go. See what we can do with 2.
Let's go and have a chat about it now.
Let's do it.
Our boat then is the Nordkapp Enduro 830, and as I say, I just went to Oslo to take a look at that. Got a couple of hours on board alongside the designer Espen Thorup, who, as I say, has been working with Nordkapp for a very long time, about 30 years in fact. And actually, he's been instrumental in the development of the Nordkapp fleet ever since the 90s, where it's sharpened up in terms of its styling. It's sharpened up in terms of its the performance, the dynamism of its deep V hulls. And this, I have to say, is a really impressive boat. Now, what's particularly interesting about it is the fact that, forever, Nordkapp's been about the generation of relatively small outboard-powered sports boats. And its current fleet, 17 models, all outboard-powered boats of between 6 and 9 metres in length. So they know what they're doing at that sort of size. But they are calling this their most versatile vessel ever. So that gets you thinking, because they're generally, as a Nordic brand, they're quite understated. They don't
I think of them as sort of quite traditional, Scandinavian, but they've really upped their game, I think. As you say, I think they look a bit sharper, look a bit prettier, and by all accounts, it's a bit of a fun thing to drive.
Oh, it really is. But actually, it's one of those rare boats, even before you get to the drive, you find yourself kind of imagining owning it. That's always a good sign, isn't it? When you think, I can see how this would look in my local marina. I see how I look on my local waters with my kids in and my missus on board.
It's a lovely size too, isn't it? Sort of 27 feet, single engine, so not too expensive to run.
Yeah.
Just about trailable, I think, if you've got a big enough car.
Yeah, you did the figures on
that. I had a look at that. Yeah, and we've got quite sort of specific restrictions in the UK, but it just about comes in terms of the width. I think the width is likely to be the problem on a lot of them, because the trailer has to be a certain width and then you're allowed a little bit of hangover, but that just about squeaks in within the rules. So that's really handy to be able to do that.
Brilliant news, because one of the key elements of this Enduro 830, and bear in mind there's an Enduro 805 which is only a foot shorter, so you look at them and think, well, presumably this coming in means the end of the 805, but no, because it's a totally different order of boat. Yeah. Because in spite of the fact it's only a foot longer, it's actually 9 foot 7 inches in the beam, so 1 foot and 3 inches wider than the 805. So it's a totally different order of boat altogether. So they carry on running concurrently.
Walk around decks, always like.
And
I keep my boat on a swing mooring, so always sort of walking around to try and pick up buoys or launch the anchor, whatever it is. Yeah. So much more convenient to be able to walk around it, but just looks a bit different. We've seen so many of these kind of Axopar style, vertical bows, and this looks modern, but it stays away from that. It's still got a more traditional bow, a little sort of snub nose, but pretty looking thing. Yeah,
well, you're right. It does look more traditional, but at the same time more modern. It's got that kind of undercut bow, but also it doesn't have a stepped hull. It's a traditional deep V hull, and we'll come to that when we talk about the drive. But basically, this is the third time they've applied this 830 hull on a model platform, and it absolutely shows in terms of the drive. It's brilliant to drive. But as I say, we'll get to that in a sec. First, let's talk about the internals, because in addition to it being super stylish to look at, and it really does look the part, doesn't it? Yeah. You step into the aft cockpit and you immediately feel that huge beam. You say it's just about trailable, brilliant, but it's broad in there. Really,
lovely,
really spacious.
U-shaped seating, isn't it?
It has,
you've got seating on all three sides of the boat, makes full use of the cockpit, much more kind of sociable rather than sitting in sort of rigid rows facing forwards.
You're not stratified ranks, so you never talk to the person next to you. But well, actually, the only thing that's standard in terms of that U-shaped seating is the aft bench. But because that's very deep, you've got a backrest that slides fore and aft. So you can position it a little way forward, and you've got forward-facing seats and aft-facing seats. And then if you add those lateral side seats, those side pods, turn it into a U-shaped bench, well, those backrests also fold outboard. And they've got little wooden linings along the top of the backrest, so that as they fold out, they nestle up against a fiberglass lip in the bulwarks. So you've got a full beam sunbed. You can drop one down, leave the other one up. So you've got proper access fore and aft. So it's really versatile in that regard. And of course, the table drops into the space too. So you can have a proper sunbed. But because, of course, they're independently operable, you can keep those big side decks open. And it's particularly sociable because, the test boat I looked at had a wet bar facing back towards them with a fridge underneath.
Lovely.
But you can swap that for an aft-facing bench for a couple of people. So you've got the U-shape.
So you could have all four sides, effectively.
Yeah, but basically, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So sociable.
On a 27-foot boat, quite rare as well to have that much seating and not feel like you're all sort of hemmed in or haven't got enough. A lot of the time you have quite big seats and then a tiny tables. You're also sort of sitting around trying to balance your sandwich or your plate on the corner of the table.
So, and it's quite interesting you talk about feeling hemmed in, but of course the nature of the furniture and the nature of the beam means that you don't feel so much hemmed in. But also the fact that he's included rather beautifully some glass panels built into the bulwarks on either side. So even though they're relatively elevated bulwark, so you feel nice and safe. The fact you've got the light and the view, it just, whether it's a mindset or a practical thing, it just feels like the place is opened up a bit.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, that's one of the issues with things like ribs. It's lovely to sort of feel like you've got a nice view out over the sides, but you do feel a bit exposed. It feels like you're sitting on the boat rather than in it. And if you can feel like you're sitting in it, but still have the view through those little glass bulwarks,
exactly
gets the best of both worlds.
Exactly that. And that's exactly when I started thinking about how cool this cockpit would be for me, the missus and the two boys. The two boys are into all sorts of mischief. Well, it's a safe place for those guys, and it's spacious too and very configurable. But then, of course, we have the T-top, which is quite a clever bit of kit in its own right. Now, again, this comes back to the beam. If you spec the T-top, you could spec a pram hood, that's fine. You can spec it with a basic T-top, or you can spec it with a T-top and a canopies. And if you do that, and that's what the test boat had, well, again, it comes back to that beam where you've got space for those big walk-around side decks on either side of that aft furniture. But the canopies, if you erect them, they come down to the deck in the centre of those walkways. And it's such beam there that you can still make your way fore and aft inside those canopies or outside those canopies.
Nice.
So it's deeply practical in that regard. Really love that. So it's not just an open boat and a plaything. I mean, this is something you could feasibly use for 4 seasons of the year. Well, 3 seasons in Norway because the one season is insanely cold. But 4-season boat down in Britain.
And you've still got some cabin space down below?
You've got a cuddy, a traditional cuddy cabin. You'd benefit from sticking your head aft to minimise the taper to get extra vertical height and better view through the windows. And you've got a heads, which will become a wet room, I think, in the future. This was boat number 1, but they had sufficient deck clearance, sufficient clearance beneath the deck for a pump. And they had mouldings that suggested there will be a
But it's
drain.
a proper separate heads compartment with a door. You're not on some sort of porta potty with a screen or something. Or,
no, it's a proper...
It's not civilised.
No, it's a proper separate heads compartment. It does a decent job. And you've got a little changing seat on the port side. And rather cleverly, again, as I say, he's a good bloke. I like Espen very much. But I love his small boat designs. Honestly, I think he deserves a lot more credit for being a minor genius of smaller boat design than he gets. It's extraordinary. So this seat on the port side, a changing seat, well, it disappears under the port side of the cockpit, the external deck. So essentially, you could use that as a third little bed, just for a kid.
So you've got one main double bed, typical sort of V-shape in the bow, and then a kind of tiny little... So you couldn't get the 4 of you sleeping on board?
No, you couldn't.
No, fair enough.
But, of course, if you got kids, as I have, and you want to cover up with the canopies and stick them on that sunbed in the cockpit, brilliant. That's not a problem at all. But what I really want to talk about, because the cuddy is the compromise here, of course. If you're expecting a cuddy, you're content with that. is the bow. It's even more ingenious than the cockpit, because you go up a step or two to the bow, and it has an island sunbed, but it's not quite an island sunbed, actually. It's better than that. So what you have is a couple of fiberglass fingers, essentially, that run forward from the screen struts.
Right.
And contained within that is a seat with a proper elevated backrest like this.
Right.
So two people can sit inside there, and you feel the fiberglass butting up on either side, so you're contained and you're safe.
Yeah, exactly.
You could really enjoy
embrace
that. Yeah, exactly that. And when you want to open out a sunbed, well, you simply concertina those cushions, down they come, and then you pop the little tags with the poppers. They don't pop down to the deck, because, of course, when you're underway, that can sort of get the wind under it and fly up. You open the anchor locker, they pop down in there, and then you close the lids.
Clever.
So it's super secure.
So it's properly retained. The number of times I've seen bow cushions go flying, when you get up to 40 knots, the air gets under them, whoosh, gone.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it makes me sound like a bit of an anorak, but in that anchor locker, it's brilliant. You got space for your chain on one side. You've got space for the gas locker on the other. It's a perfect spot for it. Okay. You've got the water filler with an overflow, so that's a perfect spot for that. And you've got a little net above your chain locker for your lines, which is perfect for them to stay dry.
True. And the fact you've got a gas locker suggests there is a decent cooker of some kind on board, or is it just for heating?
No, that's a really good question. I think there's a single ring at the little wet bar in the cockpit.
Yeah. Must be, otherwise what's your gas doing?
That's a great question.
Let's assume there is. If there's a gas locker, there's going to be a cooker somewhere on board, isn't there?
Yeah. I once looked at an XO at a boat show, and I found the outlet for the holding tank, overlooking, of course, the fact that there was actually a toilet. And I should have twigged at the time. Yes, you don't tend to have a holding tank unless you have a toilet.
No, that would be an odd way to spec.
This is another one of those situations. I'm delighted
it's so cleverly hidden that you haven't actually found it yet. And that is the trouble with some of these boats. They're so clever. Yeah. They sort of fit, sinks under chairs and fridges under benches.
It is clever, Hugo. I'm glad you're getting that from this, because that unit where you sit in front of the screen, that entire thing hinges up. You've got your struts for your canopies and everything over there, so you can shade that bow. But also, when you've got the sunbed laid out, and you come back at the end of a day, or you're going to sea and you just want to strap it up properly, well, you concertina those sunbeds, 3 parts. Yeah. They fold into the cushion in between those fiberglass fingers where the seat is. And then beneath that, once you've lifted it off the deck, there is your ready rigged bit of canvas that just folds up on top of them, poppers into place. I tried it. The first time ever I tried that, and within 15 seconds easily, we went from having a full-on sunbed to being folded up, toggled up, and ready to go to sea or ready to go home. And how great is that?
Yeah, way better than having to rummage around in some other little locker to find whether you've got the right piece of canvas cover, which way it goes, which way it's up, which way it's down, which way it faces. It's all that's there, bosh, done. Lovely job.
Yes.
So come on, tell us about how it drives, because that's what I want to know.
Well, look, I mean, you say it's a single engine boat. Well, the test boat was. You can have a couple of 250s, in which case they tell us that would be good for 52 knots. But like I say, there's a very restrained company. They don't shout too loudly. If they're saying 52 knots, I can guarantee it's going to go faster than that, because we had a single 400 and we were seeing easily 47 knots with 3 of us on board.
And that sounds perfect to me. 47 is properly quick, but not scary quick. Once you get above 50, it's scary quick. And if you've got 2 engines, it's double the servicing cost. You've got a whole load of extra weight. You've got extra complexity, and they're so reliable, these outboards these days. I don't see a lot of necessity for 2 engines unless you're really going hardcore offshore cruising, and but even then the chances are it's going to be a fuel issue or an electric issue, and that will kill both your engines anyway. So I'd rather have one big. It's more efficient. You've got less drag in the water.
Well, talking of efficiency, I mean, we could fly along at anything from sort of you're planing at 14, 15 knots. It's very well behaved and it's flat. There's barely a hump to get over. Really, really well behaved in that regard. Loads of throttle response, and then everything 20, 25, 30 knots. You're still just drinking less than 2 litres per nautical mile. So that is sustainable. And then right at the top end, 47 knots, 3 litres.
Lovely. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So you genuinely can cruise from kind of 18 knots all the way up to probably 40 knots and not feel like you're stressing the engine or the boat too much.
Exactly that. And it's just, Espen was on board, as I say, and he was saying to me, because he's obviously very painstaking about each design, he's saying he feels like there's a little bit too much weight forward. I got none of that. None of that. I've rarely been on a boat that's so beautifully balanced.
That very rarely happens on a sports boat. You nearly always find that they're arse heavy because you've got some massive great outboards.
Yeah, well, exactly that. But whatever they're done with this boat, I thought it was superb. It's lovely balance, lovely composure. Yeah. Whether you're doing 47 knots or 15 knots, the composure's there.
Yeah.
You know, the stability of the heel. Just, it's such.
And no steps, so very nice and grippy.
Yeah, very nice and grippy, but not such that you feel like you're going to get caught out by catching a wave shape at the bow and get flung over the high side. It's just an exquisite boat to drive. It's an exquisite boat all round, actually. And it was at that point I got off. I was about to leave, and I realised I hadn't even checked out the cabin, the cuddy cabin we discussed. That's how enjoyable it was. I'd just been so pleased by everything I saw. Yeah, basically, exactly that. So,
come on, big question then. How much is it?
Well, it is a big question, isn't it? That boat goes from €124,000 plus tax.
Realistic price once you've kitted it out.
That test boat was 160 plus tax. So you're looking
euros or pounds?
That's euros.
That is not too bad.
I reckon if you got 150 grand to spend on a boat, you can have a lot.
I mean, it's certainly the same ballpark as Axopars and Saxdors and so on, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And like I say, it's so rare. And that's about number one. Let's not forget. This hasn't been exhaustively honed over 40 or 50 iterations of the same model. This is a prototype I was looking at. It's quite an exquisite boat. I've always loved the look of Nordkapps. Their coupe range is beautiful.
Yeah. Like the fact they got windows in the hull. You don't find that often on a 27-foot.
No, you don't.
Sports boats like that.
It's just a boat where, as he always does, the design seems to try a bit harder, and it's brilliantly successful. Love that boat.
It's one of those sort of slightly under the radar brands, isn't it? It's not an obvious go-to choice.
No.
So you're not going to look over and there's going to be another three of them parked up alongside yours in the marina.
That kind of makes it more desirable as well,
I like it. I like it. I think there's a lot to be said for it.
Same here. There's not a bad word to be said at all, in fact, is there? You've got to come back at me with something.
Well, usually I like to try and disagree with something, but until I've driven it, then I can't really have a go at it. But no, I must admit, from what I've seen, from what you've said, I think it looks spot on. I think that's a really interesting choice and something a little bit different to the norm.
Brilliant boat. Well done, Espen. Well done, Nordkapp. Take a look. Now, our product. This is exciting.
Go on.
Our product, I should say products of the week. Best boating gadgets for less than 50 quid. I could get involved with this. 50 quid.
Come on then. That's not a high bar.
It's not.
Who's going to kick us off then?
You got some pretty drab products.
I've got some exceptional. So don't give me
first.
drab.
I'll save my exciting stuff for last.
All right. So my favourite piece of kit that I use more than anything else, I bought at the Southampton Boat Show about, got to be 20 years ago. And it is called, wait for it, the Super Pump. Now, obviously, quite a bold name. You expect some pretty fancy kit for that. What it is essentially, it's a siphon tube. So it's just a clear piece of plastic. But crucially, at one end, there is a little one-way valve that consists of a little kind of metal end piece with a glass marble in it. And when you stick it in a tank of whatever it is, I use it for siphoning petrol into my boat, but you pop it in and then this is going to look wrong. You basically give it a little bit of a waggle like this.
I wonder what you were going to say there.
All right. Well, it does look a bit like you're pleasuring something. But anyway, it's a little plastic tube. You give it a little waggle for want of a better word. But because when you push it down into the liquid, it pushes the marble up. And then when you pull it up, the marble goes back and blocks it. So effectively, it does all the hard work of creating that vacuum for you. So you don't have to sit at the other end, sucking away and getting a mouthful of petrol.
Yeah.
And it means, for my boat, I mean, I've got a 22-foot walk-around sports boat, very expensive when you're filling up with petrol from a marina. So I do that cheapskate thing of going to your normal car filling station, filling a few 20-litre cans of fuel. Not entirely sure whether you're meant to put it in a car, but if you've got a nice pickup or something, you put them in the back of the pickup, take them to the boat, park it on top of the transom, put the super pump in, give it a little waggle, and it'll just drain that 20 litres of fuel directly into your tank. No spills, nothing. Total cost, £15, sold from a very impressive German chap who used to be there, come rain or shine, every boat show,
I know the chap.
selling his super pump and demonstrating how it works. That went all wrong. That sounded Dutch.
Yeah.
Anyway, very charismatic bloke. Used to be very entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, it is a brilliant piece of kit. And you can still get it. I have checked. They sell them in various chandleries and things.
Yeah, they are superb. I suspect that.
It's great. So much better than a funnel. So much quicker.
With his millions.
Well, I hope he has. He certainly deserves to have done.
He does.
But I suspect you've got to sell a lot of 15 quid things to make your million.
Yeah, I've got to say, I shouldn't have called your products drab, because that actually is brilliant. I've seen that. I've used it.
Super useful piece of kit.
Isn't it?
I've had it on my boat for 20 years. I use it every time I go down. So come on, counter that. What's your big one?
I'm a bit intimidated now.
It's got to have a good name as Super Pump, that's for sure.
It hasn't.
Oh, okay. Come on.
I'm going to say this does sound rubbish. Now I'm going to say rib fenders, right? Because I was on. Yeah, no, go on.
Fenders.
I was on one of those excellent Aqua Spirit ribs, aluminium Ukrainian built things down in Plymouth. Really good boat. Excellent value. And he had a set of rib fenders.
Floating fenders anyway.
Yeah, they are, but no, everyone who owns a rib, you see it all the time. They have regular sausage fenders, inflatable things, sticking out like that, poked over their tubes.
Because you got the round tubes.
Yeah, exactly.
So
well, these things are little rotor-moulded polyethylene. You know how I feel about that. I love it, don't I? Building boats, building cool boxes, building fenders. Well, it's got little articulated discs, so they curve around the fender. So they give you proper protection. And also, they take up a lot less space than a regular inflatable fender, which is important.
Are they soft or are they...
Because they're robust, but not such that they'll...
So it only really work on a rib because effectively the tube is providing the cushioning.
I know what you're saying. I suspected the same. I looked it up. Apparently they're for hard sports boats as well.
Okay.
But, good kit. I think, Plastimo do a version, and that's 25 quid. Nice. So well within budget.
So the point is they sort of shape to fit your top size, whether that's a rib or a sports boat or some fancy moulding.
Exactly that. I think they're pretty cool. They don't have a cool name, though, just rib fenders.
Yeah, that's not quite doing it for me.
Go on, what you got?
Got to
What's
get a
next?
Super in.
What you got?
Okay, so my second favourite piece of kit is actually a product, and that is Y10 gel. Now, admittedly, if you don't know what that is, it needs a little bit of explanation. But essentially, I think it's made up of something called oxalic acid, but it's a hull stain remover. So, if you've got a white GRP hull, you get that kind of algae stain around the waterline. Whatever you do, it goes a little bit brown around the waterline, and your beautiful, expensive, white, shiny boat just looks a little bit grimy and murky around the waterline. Take it out at the end of the year, paint a little bit of this stuff on around the waterline, and before your very eyes, you can just see the colour drain out of it, and it becomes as white as it was when it was brand new. It is properly magic stuff.
It sounds like illegal stuff, because I used to get this stuff to strip paint called Paint Panther.
Whoa,
I know,
that's a good name.
Yeah, exactly. That was like epic, seismic, crazy stuff that just obliterated anything touched. And then more recently, apparently, this stuff has become illegal. There's a new Paint Panther, and it's legislation going on that means it's sort of kind of wafty and sort of
paint tabby cat.
Yeah, it softens it a touch, so you've got to scrape it for 7 days.
No, I'm pretty sure this is still perfectly legal and not overly scary stuff. But it just works brilliantly. You paint it on, you leave it for a couple of minutes, you wash it off. I do slightly worry that if you leave it on too long, it might melt the entire boat, but I don't think it does. It's effectively a kind of bleach that works particularly well on gel coats, particularly effective against algae, but also rust stains. The temptation is just to paint the entire boat, if it makes the whole thing whiter than white, but I'm not sure that would necessarily be a good idea. But around the waterline or on rust stains, truly magic stuff. Yeah,
all right. Cleaning product.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
It's worth having.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm going to stick with the fender theme before I get more exciting. Because some guys from Marine Innovations, Rachel actually, she's a lovely lady, and it's some good kit they do. They've got something called the adjustable fender mate. So look, basically, from my time in the Navy, the only knot I can remember out of tie is I can't even remember the name of it. A clove hitch, exactly. Yep. There it is. I was tying one with air. Did you see that? Beautiful. For a vertical pull. Perfect for your fenders. So I like to tie that. But actually, this adjustable fender mate is quite cool. It's quite a cool gadget.
You got one? Can you explain?
I have. I bought one along, but I don't know where I put it. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate with my hands.
Okay.
And if you're watching this, then go online to Marine Innovations and have a look at their instructional video, because Rachel herself actually demonstrates how to do it, and it will be much easier to understand. But
basically, something going on with this Rachel girl. Am I missing something?
Top woman. She sent me some. I know it's only like 11 quid for the adjustable bundle and 6 quid for the basic fender mate, but it's nice when people send you a kit because they're impressed with what it does, and it works well. So you basically you slot this little sort of plastic device onto the line for your fender, and then you push that up under the rail, right? And so you connect a little toggle, a little toggle to the line, and then slot the toggle up and under these fingers. You see, so then the fender hangs whatever sort of length from that rail that you like, and because you've got the toggle, you can just pull it through to adjust or let it out to drop it down.
So it's for your incompetent crewmates who don't know how to tie clowfish, can still help with the fenders. Well,
you could say that, but actually it's a bit better than that. Now, it's easy to remove, of course, because you just pull down the toggle and off it comes all in one go. But I was on actually it was a boat where I was surprised to see they didn't have any lockers on the foredeck. It was a Hardy, which of course are proper sea boats, and seamanship practicalities are generally taken care of, but no real lockers for your fenders and stuff. So I'm thinking, well, this fender mate be perfect, because if you get the adjustable bundle, you get 2 in a pack, so you can basically strap your fenders to your rails around that bow. So even if you do
have a line at each end.
Simple as that.
Do you not then have a line dangling in the water from the other end when you're using it as a fender?
I don't know, technicalities. Talk to Rachel. I'll question you more quizzically on your cleaning material.
Yeah, come on, you've got to give me a hard time.
That's because
you've got to stand up. If you're making a point about how great a product is,
I'll let you off. That's a decent question. I don't know whether you're going to have sort of lines dangling all over the place. Look at the instructional video. I'll find my bundle at some stage and show you later.
I'll stop it.
It's on the boat somewhere.
I just feel like everything is a competition, and I need to win this one.
It is. I've let myself down there. I've let Marine Innovations down as well. I'm telling you, it's good kit. It's cheap kit.
Yeah.
Have a look. You got something exciting by the sounds of it.
Well, I'm checking up on my other two. So another piece of kit I am very, very fond of is a Victorinox Skipper Pro knife. Now, Victorinox are the people who make what they call Swiss Army knives.
Yes.
And they do a specific sailing one, which is just one of those deeply pleasing pieces of design. It's the perfect size and shape. They've thought about it all. It's got a really sharp serrated edge knife, which is brilliant for cutting through ropes and things, because it's just the right length. It's super sharp. The fact that it's serrated cuts much more cleanly than a straight blade.
It's true.
It's got all those useful little things like marlin spikes and Phillips screwdriver heads, but it's just the perfect size. It's about so long, probably, what is that, sort of 5 inches or something, just a pleasing little weight. It all folds away, so it's nice and safe. It's got a little lanyard on it, so if you want to tie it or put it around your wrist or anything, and it's got a little lock for the knife, so it doesn't flick closed if you're trying to do something with it. It's just one of those things that just feels perfectly fit for purpose.
How much?
And exactly right.
How much?
Well, when I bought it, it was under 50 quid. I have to say, I did have a look. Well, just slightly before then. But I think these days, most places seem to have it more like sort
84
of 70. Well, that must have been a very expensive site you went on.
Dear,
it might be a tiny bit over 50 quid these days. But it's worth every penny.
Well, yeah, it probably is. Do you know, I've never told you this. I was once on the Source in a pub in Lucerne or Zurich or somewhere in Switzerland, and this bunch of young army lads came into the pub, and I'd had a couple of jars, so I obviously, knowing that they'd never been involved in any war ever because they just love to be neutral, I went up to these fellas and challenged them to get out their army knives, their Swiss Army knives. And do you know they actually carry one?
Is it genuinely standard issue?
Yeah. I was in bits. I couldn't contain myself. So yeah, I've got time for that. But
no wonder they don't fight any wars. They're not going to get very far with a bunch of little pen knives, are they? Come at you! Come on!
These massive fellas, and they pulled out these tiny little Christmas cracker weapons. But I want to say if you're interested in some quality knives, I'm not dissing the mainstream high street brand Victorinox, but Myerchin, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but Myerchin, they make some beautiful marine specific knives, well worth a look, with lovely leather sheaths, the sort of thing you buy once and you keep
proper
all your boating life. Yeah, gorgeous.
A leather sheath hanging off my belt with my multi-purpose tool.
Exactly. They'll break the budget of 50 quid, but so did yours. So let's move on again. I've got something.
Go on then.
Anchor Right.
Now I do know what you're talking about. That is a good call.
Yeah, operate out of Poole. They were established in 2023. They've already won Maritime UK Startup of the Year 2025. 13 international distributors already. So there's a market for this. People want it. So basically, your chain for your anchor, when you're paying it out, a lot of people use coloured paint or they use cable ties just so they know how much is going out. Well, this is a fit and forget permanent kind of alternative to that, something purpose built. So little screw in tags that you put in the chain, again color coded, and there's an additional plate with color coding chart that you put next to your windlass so that you can see very intuitively how much you're paying out.
So you just literally fit one every sort of 5 meters or 2 meters or whatever it is.
Exactly that. And they come in all sorts of sizes, for all sorts of sizes of chain. There are custom built ones for chain that's 13 millimeters plus, and there are kind of color customized sets that you can buy or off the shelf online sets. And it's a simple thing. It's 20 quid ish, starts from that. But you know, if you can get something that makes your boat look a bit cooler and you're not sort of half-arsing it with cable ties, why not?
A lot cheaper than a chain counter, isn't it?
Exactly that, yeah.
And probably a lot more reliable as well.
Exactly, why not?
No, I think that's a good shout. Nice, simple, effective product, inexpensive, does what it meant to do.
Yeah, and founded and designed and marketed by an avid boater. And isn't it always the way that
he was actually
boaters...
an MBY reader? He came to me when he was launching it. He was just getting it together, and he said, "Would you like to take a look at this?" So I went down and saw it, took some photos of the very first prototype, and fair play to him. Good on him. He's made a nice little business out of it.
Yeah, good man. Well done. What you got next? Anything?
One more little thing on the line of magic products is the Universal Magic Sponge. I don't know if you've ever come across this.
Product?
It is another clean product, and it is, in fact, another stain removing product, but not necessarily boat specific, but they're effectively, I think they're made of something called melamine. So they're much sort of stiffer and firmer than a conventional sponge, and they don't absorb water in quite the same way.
That's the stuff you make outdoor plates from, isn't it? And stuff.
Yes, yeah. So it's like plastic, but it's sort of like in a spongy format, but very, very tiny, minuscule little sort of bubbles. So you literally just wet it down and you can rub it on anything. And effectively, it's like super, super fine wet and dry sandpaper or like using a bit of T-cut on your car or something. But any stain that you just can't remove, you can just polish it out with these magic sponges and it will remove almost anything. And you just go as light as you dare till it's got rid of and then move on. But it's
like T-cut in your boat, simple as that.
Well, you need to be a little bit careful. You don't sort of, if there's some special coating on it that you don't want to remove.
Yeah.
But on, awkward sort of unsightly little bits and bobs that you just need to get rid of, it is properly magic.
How
as
much
the name says.
Did you...
they're nothing. They're about, a $5 for 10 of them or something. You can pick them up on Amazon for nothing.
Outrageous. So for 50 quid, you could have 100.
Oh, you wouldn't know what to do with that many of them. But
amazing.
Super handy just to have a couple of those tucked away somewhere. And you can use it inside the boat, outside the boat, anywhere. Good stuff.
Well, I haven't got any really, I guess, specific products that I want to promote in terms of, 50 quid is great value. But there are various things that just generally, not so much products, it's just improving your boat life. Like if you've got a relatively small open boat with a console in it, just invest in a Thetford porta potty for 50 quid. It just enables you to spend longer on the water. Yeah, it's just a great investment, isn't it?
Really?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but make your missus empty it.
Bucket every time.
Would you?
I don't like the idea of having a little plastic box of nasties.
Yeah, no.
I'd rather straight over the side.
Yeah, but...
your missus might not be so keen on that.
Yeah, my kids would be all over that.
No, they have to go for a swim when it's time for that.
Yeah. Well, another thing, and this does bust the budget, but a keel band. You got a fiberglass boat. Stick a keel band on it.
Keel band. I thought you said kill band. I was thinking this sounds scary.
Yeah, no, keel band. Sorry.
Yeah.
A great investment. You're probably looking at 150, 200 quid for a fitted keel band for a small boat.
Can you fit them yourself, or is that a?
I don't know. Presumably they're entirely self-adhesive, or have you actually got to penetrate?
I don't know. I've never seen, but I know what you mean. So are they made of metal or plastic?
Aluminium.
Aluminium.
Yeah,
and they run basically along the sort of centre line of the boat, the bottom of the V. Yeah. And because I have that problem in my boat, I keep mine on a swing mooring.
Yeah,
and every time I lift it up after summer in the water, the very stern end of that V has always sort of worn through. All the all the anti-fouling has come off, and you're through to the bare gel coat.
It's why I love aluminium boats.
Just give a little bit
up the beach, just knock them about. You don't want your boat to feel like a liability, and sometimes with a nice, pretty, beautifully polished fiberglass boat like yours, you do. So stick a kill band on it, stop worrying about it, beach it, use it as it's supposed to be used. And another thing that I've always enjoyed doing is just shrink wrapping the electronics and the electrics. You know, the little... with a little, So you just make them waterproof, make them watertight, and label them. You know, just to improve things, just to make it a little bit more practical. I won't go on about cool boxes.
No, we've had enough of those already.
We will. I love them. And I just want to point out before we move on, worst boating gadgets.
Oh.
Yeah, in my experience, is any floating key fob is a bloody lie. All they do is slow the rate of sinkage and make it bright and colourful and fluorescent, so you can watch your keys disappearing 600 yards beneath the surface of the sea.
You know what? There's one a little while back. I don't know if you can still get them, but it was a slightly more advanced version of that actually had a small inflatable balloon.
I had one of those
inside a keyring. Yeah. And when you dropped it, the tablet or whatever it was would fizz, fill up the balloon. It would come floating back to the surface. Yeah. And I remember having to test that rather kind of, I really hope this works, because if I'm chucking my keys in the water, I want them to come back. Yeah. But true enough, it did come out in a little orange balloon, bobbed up.
Well, it's not reusable though, is it?
No, that's a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
But yeah, best not to test it if you're really not sure whether it's going to be enough. You just need a surprising amount of buoyancy to counteract something heavy like a bunch of keys.
Yeah, no, the reality is that, fine if you're like 12 and you have a door key, right? It will keep that buoyant. But if you're a grown-up with more than one door, you're screwed, aren't you?
You need such a big sort of cork thing that you can't put it in your pocket anyway.
You're like a caretaker with my keys, the janitor, just bundles of them, fists full of keys. So no, they're nonsense. Don't waste your money.
Fair point.
All right, should we move on?
Yeah, I think we better have before you libel anyone else.
Yeah. All right, our issue of the day is, it's a good one. Ramping up the budget, as I say, for our fantasy fleet, our ultimate two-boat collection. Hugo, go.
Okay, so I'm going to come straight out with it, that the two boats I would have, whilst keeping sort of vaguely within the rules of size and money and not overly excessive, would be a Fleming 60 and a Brabus Shadow 900. And for me, that pretty much covers all the bases. So you've got Fleming. I haven't gone to overly large. I've gone 60 foot because I like the idea of being able to helmet crew it just with me and my wife. So you wouldn't need to have permanent crew on there. It's small enough to get into most sort of marinas and places. It doesn't mean you have to anchor miles offshore or can't fit into marinas because they can't take boats over 70 feet. You've got a really comfortable owner's cabin, master cabin for the two of you, full beam. You've got two further cabins, one nice VIP for guests, smaller twin for, two more or kids or whatever, but lovely big saloon, fabulous hull that you can do pretty much, category A, RCG racing, 2,000 nautical mile range. I'm not going to be going any further than 2,000 miles on a single hit. But you can go through any weather. You've got speed if you need it. It's a semi-planing hull, so you can get up to, I can't remember what it is, sort of 20-something knots if you need to run out the way of a bit of bad weather coming your way, but also feels really comfortable just cruising slowly at displacement speed. Really solid engineering, immense build quality.
Well, I've not stepped on board that boat. I've seen your video on it, and it was immediately a boat I wanted. But it's interesting you picked that, which looks like the sort of boat that an ex-admiral's auntie might pick. And then
auntie?
And then for your smaller boat, you pick something that looks like sort of a new money hooligan's boat.
Oh yeah, well, you've got to have the fun. That is the whole point. That's why you've got, for the other boat, I wanted something fast, leery, outrageous, super capable, and also open, because I'm a big fan of open boats. I want to go boating when the sun is out. I want to feel like I'm outside. I want to eat outside. I want to get the full wind in the hair and face experience when you're going quickly. That thing will do 60 knots. I mean, that is properly quick.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that very long, but you can cruise all day at 45 knots and it just feels like nothing. Looks cool, goes quickly, £500,000, but you know, we're playing fantasy fleet, and also not crazy big. I toyed with the idea of going for the Brabus Shadow 1200, but that's a 45-foot boat and that's quite big and you've got triple engines. Brabus Shadow 900, 37 foot. For those who don't know, it's based on an Axopar 37, but it's the kind of Brabus effect. So it's like your Brabus version of an Axopar, much in the same way that you get a Brabus version of your Mercedes. So it's based on a really tried and trusted, proven hull, but pimped up a bit, tweaked up a bit, more power, looks cool, lots of nice Brabus touches in terms of, you know, the interior, the leather, the fabrics, the finishes, the colour scheme. Looks quite sort of SBS as well, you know, the particularly the Black Ops one, you know, the way they've got all the sort of stainless steel has been blacked out. And it just looks a little bit threatening and a bit cool and
threatening. I like threatening.
Well,
good,
you know, you want a little bit of edginess to it. But just a super capable boat. You can get a big party of people on there during the day. You can hammer out. You're always going to be first in the anchorage because you're going to get there quicker than everyone else.
It's some good choices there, Hugo.
Yeah, I like it. It feels to me like I've got all the bases covered. But I suspect you're going to come up with some ridiculous alternative.
No. See, we're working on exactly the same principle. It makes complete sense, doesn't it? If you've got an ultimate 2-boat collection, one of those is big, it's ocean going, it's long distance, it's an expedition vessel essentially, but of a manageable size that you and the family can control. I've done the same. Until you told me you were going for a Fleming 60, I was genuinely thinking about it.
Well, you can't have that. I've taken that. What are you going to go for then?
Well, I've just put together the cam preview, as you know, for the magazine, for MBY. And one of those boats from Outer Reef, the Adventure 780, I looked at that and I thought, wow, because I've always looked at Holland and at Dutch-built steel-hulled offshore expedition vessels. I love the idea of them. And even though it's an American brand, this is built in Holland. It's a steel hull with aluminium topsides, a 78-footer with a 22-foot beam, upright trawler-style side, so loads and loads of volume, and very long distance, 15,000 litres of fuel and 4,000 litres of water, 1,000-litre holding tank. So this is I think, in excess of 3,000 miles, I think, the cruising range. So a proper... that's the thing. It's not actually an expedition boat exactly. It can be. It's got the underpinnings of that, but you can adjust the foredeck, the flybridge, the length and size of the superstructure in order to finesse that balance between the expeditionary and the kind of recreational.
And it's all beautifully faired and painted. It looks like a. And the other thing I like about it is it's got a nice sort of clean modern design, because the traditional outer reefs, the composite boats, really lovely boats and beautiful interiors, but they are quite trad, and that not necessarily to everyone's taste.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas, trad in the same way as your Fleming feels a little bit.
To be fair, and that is quite trad, but I do like the fact that it just looks a little bit cleaner, a little bit more modern. Presumably slightly sort of funkier interior, is it? Yeah, and just loads of space for your toys as well, which you want. You can crane them off the flybridge or the foredecks, no problem at all. Loads of space for both if you want. And they've thought about it carefully. So, all right, it's because of the elevation, you're not going to take it on Europe's inland waterways, but everywhere else you can pretty much go. Its length means you can anchor it in the French Riviera. It's relatively shallow draft means it's fine for the Bahamas, you know, and it's got the option of ice classification as well, so you can take it to polar regions. What more do you want than that from your big beast of a boat in your private collection? The only problem is you haven't actually seen it in the flesh yet.
No, well, that is a big problem. I know. I'm going to see it in Cannes, and then I might have to eat my words. But for now, I'm sufficiently impressed by what I'm seeing.
Knowing how well Outer Reef build their boats, I have very little doubt it will be impressive.
Yes.
I do like the look of that. I think that's a sound choice.
God, we're best chums today, aren't we? We're agreeing with everything.
No, I'm going to slander your next one.
Well, it's because I've struggled terribly. I thought I would find this really easy, having tested loads of boats for 20 years, but I'm finding it desperately difficult. You know, I was thinking, whatever my big boat is, I still want a Targa 41 because I love it. But I can't really, because it's like the big thing in miniature.
It is.
So then I was thinking, okay, what about the Saxdor 340 GTWA? I was thinking that with the walk around decks and the wheelhouse, but the pilot house opens up as they always do with these boats. You know, and it just does so many things. But then I'm thinking maybe it's a bit pinchy in terms of if I want to go cruising with the missus and the kids. So maybe the 400 GTC from Saxtor, lovely piece of equipment. And one of our readers has just bought one, hasn't he? Yeah. But then I was thinking, well, hold on. You visited the Marex factory, didn't you? I have done. I've loved Marexes for a long time. So why don't I just sack off that kind of pilot house aesthetic and just go for a classical Marex cruiser? And specifically, I was thinking about that 440 Gourmet cruiser. I know it's a good size.
Yeah.
But it's so beautifully built. It's so easy to use. It's so classical.
Yeah.
It's got a huge safe seating area at the back end, and a massive, because it's the Gourmet cruiser, a saloon that's dedicated to the galley that looks out into that cockpit. And, you
reckon you could take that out single-handed?
Yeah, I think so. You invest in a few options. It's not too problematic. There's not a lot of windage to it either. Yeah. It's not an especially quick or intimidating boat, but you've got the 2-cabin or 3-cabin layout. There's that flexibility. It's just top-class equipment.
It's all,
and I know
all a bit grown up, isn't it? Having a outer reef and a Marex. You know, what happened to your younger self? Have you left him behind?
No. Well, that's when I really started to struggle because I thought 2 boats ain't enough. So look, listen to this. So I'm going to have the outer reef and the Marex.
You're making up the rules as you go along. You didn't say I could have 3 boats.
In fact, no, I'm going to drop the Marex. I'm sorry. It's on the hoof. I'm going to have the outer reef. I'm going to have a Targa 41 because I love it. I know they just deserve buying. I'm going to have the Saxtor 340 and I'm going to have an Iron Boats 827 rib because it's a supremely brilliant open boat driving machine. I don't need the coupe, do I? Because I've got my Saxtor that's
You're
slightly
not allowed
larger.
that. You've got 2 boats. Them's the rules.
4 boats.
4 boats now.
That's what we said.
Okay.
And you would have another one.
I'll tell you what.
Because if you've got those 2 that you're buying, you still want an open boat to have a little
I wouldn't
play
mind.
about
I wouldn't
in,
mind a third small one. Yeah, really small one. And I've long wanted to go in one of those irons. I do think the hulls look superb on those.
Yeah. So still, I would say actually, it's probably the bolting. So
funnily enough,
probably the best boat I've ever driven.
This boat we're on here, this Azimuth 68.
Yeah.
Belongs to, they're part of the Bates Wharf group.
Yeah.
Bates Wharf also are dealers for the iron boats. And I happen to know that they were out on it yesterday. They went out on an iron, a little Beneteau, one of the walk-arounds.
Yeah.
What was the third boat they went out in? Oh, it was a Brig Eagle rib.
Yeah.
So quite an interesting group there. So you got the sort of, the really practical walk-around day boat. You've got the rib, nice, easy, but quite good sociable. And then the iron coupe. And everybody said that the iron, just in terms of sheer fun and adrenaline, it absolutely blew the others out of the water. And
we're saying that as people who have driven literally hundreds of boats. So if you're watching this and you've driven a handful, then you owe it to yourself really to go out on an Iron Boats 827. I assume I haven't driven the others in the range. I assume they're as good. Yeah. The 827 I know to be supremely brilliant as a driver's boat, and just feel what perfect balance in a powerboat feels like.
Yeah.
So that you can use that as a yardstick to judge other boats you then go out on, because that's how good it is, isn't it?
Well, I haven't driven one, but you have. But they look superb.
Yeah.
And when boats just look right, they nearly always do drive well, don't they?
Yeah.
And that one looks right, and you've driven it, and by all accounts, it does drive right.
Yeah, fantastic. So you got 3 boats, I got 4 boats. Everyone's happy.
Right, settled. I think I'll agree to deal on that. Obviously, mine is slightly nicer than yours, but it's a decent effort.
Fair dues. We'll leave it there.
We better add, else we'll go on forever.
But what I want to do, because they're probably better educated than we are in a lot of regards, is ask the viewers to give us your feedback. Tell us which 2 boats you would have if you could only have 2 boats. And if you're indecisive or greedy like we are, which 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 boats you'd have. In the meantime, thank you again for joining us. This is the end of podcast 10, but please do join us again next week for podcast 11.
Absolutely. We'll see you then.